Once I made the switch to macOS, I've never looked back. I used to own a Mac Mini and I've sold to buy a MacBook Pro M4 16-inch. And be honest with you, I have almost a year with me, using almost every day. And this machine, my friends, is the best thing I've ever bought. It feels brand new still today, and I have owned for almost a year. So a few pros of MacBook compared to Windows or Linux is the battery life, is the HDR display, which is amazing to watch any movies or anything into your screen. You can spend hours with it and it's just good for your eyes, you know what I mean? It's not those matte or those panels that are very cheaply made. This is the best panel you can ever have for a laptop. It also has the best speakers I've ever heard in a laptop. So I think the other biggest point is it barely crashes. If you compare to Windows and Linux, the apps that you're using, they're almost crashing all the time. And this is a big downside, right? You don't want the apps to be crashing all the time. So with Mac, yes, the app sometimes still crashes, almost never. And the best thing, if you're just like me doing videos for YouTube, using Final Cut on macOS, you can edit 4K videos just like this, and it feels as smooth as you're editing a 1080p video. So it's amazing how powerful a MacBook Pro is, and probably even a MacBook Air to edit videos. It just works smoothly. I can add as many soundtracks, as many videos. It doesn't matter the size of any video, it's just working just like flawlessly. And for me, this is amazing because that saves me time from crashing. So for example, I used to use Windows and Premiere Pro, and man, that used to crash all the time. I couldn't barely edit one single video. So once I had Mac Mini and now MacBook Pro, I can see how fast it is. So in the bad side, I don't have many, but there's a few ones that I think it's sometimes a downside if you compare to Windows. So the first one, you don't have a native window manager. So for example, in Windows, you can drag and drop specific apps to the side, and in Mac, you don't have it. You need to download one. It's not the end of the world because you still have free ones. You also have paid ones. So you can always find either a free version or a paid version for the app that you need. If you want to have a very nice MacBook, you probably will end up spending more money on it because unfortunately some great apps they are paid. So for example, Clop, Solver, Dynamic Lake Pro, Final Cut, Supercharge. Of course, you necessarily don't need on your MacBook, but once you pay for them and you use them, they are very, very good and they help you to speed up your whole workflow in macOS. They are one-time payment. This is the good side, but the bad side sometimes some specific apps, they have subscriptions. So another downside, but I would say is more about adapting, but you can also switch the keyboard to use the same layout as the Windows, but it's getting used with the command. So Windows, you have the control, which is the far left side of your keyboard, but in macOS, everything is done with the command, which is very close to your spacebar. And that for some might need some adaptation time, but for others, it's pretty okay and fine to just use the command. Another thing for me that's not nice is that they don't have a native menu bar sort of handler. So you need to download either Ice or they have some other apps where you can basically arrange the menu apps that are located on your menu bar into one single app where you click and it will show a specific bar instead of having all the apps listed at the menu bar. Unfortunately, sometimes when Apple releases new versions of the macOS, those apps might crash because of privacy and other settings. So for example, I use Ice, it was working fine, but once Mac updated to this latest macOS, now my Ice menu bar manager is broken. It doesn't work anymore. So I need to wait, basically eventually Ice release a new update that will fix that. And now it's the end, my honest review. I really love Mac. I think I would never go back to Windows financially wise. If I still have the means of buying a new MacBook eventually in the future, I would keep buying and keep on the macOS system. I think the main thing is because I'm not a gamer, so I don't actually look forward for using Windows to play any video games or any games. But as well, I just feel that if you're using macOS, your workflow, the way you're handling the app can be improved so much more compared to a Windows machine. And I've noticed that there are so many apps that allow you customize your basically the way you work for specific apps and also for yourself. So I really like the Apple ecosystem in that way because it really helps you to strive. Like for example, apps like Raycast, which is free, allow you so many things within the Apple ecosystem, snippets, extensions, and color pickers, anything that you imagine, Raycast might have it. And unfortunately, it's just available on macOS. So, like, this is one of the good things of using and having a macOS. Apart from that, is the battery life, right? The battery life of macOS compared to Windows is there is no comparison. Actually, there's no comparison. I work with a Windows machine, and if I stay more than 2 hours without being plugged, my Windows computer basically will run out of battery. While with my MacBook, I can basically spend the whole day, even coding, and everything will still works fine. By the end of the day, I'll probably still have about 20 to 30%. And with a single charge, I can basically code at least 1 day and a half. And of course, as a user, I love it and I definitely recommend. I hope you like this video and I see you in the next time. Bye bye.